Muted. All right, everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Samir search for Uhuru. It's been a minute. I just got back from Ivory Coast and Nigeria just on Wednesday. So I flew back in Wednesday night to Newark Airport. Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson in the house. Hotep. I was actually stuck in the airport. I don't know what was the issue with the airport in Newark, New Jersey, but it took me just 2 hours to get out the airport. I don't know why. So left the airport. Then I arrived and back in the States around 10 o'clock, 10:15 p.m. at night. Didn't leave the airport till about 12:30. Got me a room at a Motel 6. Don't judge me because my flight that next day was at 9 a.m. So I was about to spend a whole bunch of money on a nice hotel. So I just spent the night at a Motel 6. The white man was holding me back at the airport. Yes. Shout out to Bell Thanos as well. So, I spent the night at the Motel 6, got up the next morning and caught my flight back to Atlanta. So now I'm in Atlanta. But the bad news is I'm back in America. The good news is I head to Senegal in about 11 days. So I'm excited about that. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you're enjoying the content I'm putting up. I have a whole bunch more that I still gotta, put together and all that good stuff. And yes, Atlanta is cold now. That's why I don't have on my my outfit I usually wear, my fit I usually wear. I got on my thermal because it's getting cold out here. So damn it, I came back and it's cold when it was hot as hell in Nigeria. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Tonight's topic is integrating West Africa with the rest of the African continent. We have the brother Ọnuọra Abụah on with us today. He's a regular. He's been on a couple times already. So, brother, let's see here. Integrating West Africa with the rest of the African continent. Now, let's see here. So, you want to start off with ECOWAS, I guess, or what did you have in mind? Because I know in West Africa they have ECOWAS, where literally all you need is your ID, not even a passport, your ID from a West African country, and you could pretty much travel throughout West Africa.
Yeah.
And then, at one time, and I've changed my mind on this, traveling to more West African countries. At one time, I said East Africa was more, as far as infrastructure wise, was more developed than West Africa. But I had to change my I have to change my mind on that a little bit. I gotta veer on that a little bit because Kenya, for the most part, is pretty much infrastructure is great. I haven't been back to Tanzania since 2000, and I think that was 13 or 12, and the infrastructure was all right. The first African country I went to in West Africa was Senegal. Senegal was okay. Mali, first time I went, was pretty bad, but when I went the following year, Mali improved. We all know Nigeria is, y'all, I love Nigeria. Nigeria is my favorite country, but the infrastructure is absolutely terrible as far as the roads and whatnot. Ivory Coast was nice. Ivory Coast is pretty cool. Ghana's not cool as well. But when you say integrate West Africa with the rest of the African continent, what? And then, of course, we have the SAFA. I mean, I want to say those countries, those francophone countries, are the only countries in Africa that all use the same money or dollar, the SAFA, which is absolute shit outside of them. But
France as well.
Go say that again.
The franc CFA is bankrolled by France, so it's literally a French printed currency.
Right, exactly. But the irony is you can't spend that money in France, nor can you exchange it.
Well, I mean, that's true with most currencies, to be honest with you. I think with the exception of the rand, the Egyptian pound, and a few others. You know, most currencies be very difficult to change at an airport abroad.
You can change. I changed out the shilling.
The shillings too. I mean, the Kenyan shillings, not the Ugandan. Ugandan shillings is like you need a whole bag just to go buy a slice of bread, man.
Oh wow.
Anyway, Dinus, my brother, welcome back. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Glad to be back. Well, kind of. Everybody in the chat room, thank you for joining us. Shout out to Keisha from Keisha, where you say from the Bahamas or somewhere? But shout out to Keisha Shahaf. All right, go ahead. Okay. Brother, go ahead.
So you know, I think we came back on the same day. I also came back Wednesday. So I was in Ghana and Nigeria, just like I was in same. I think you were in Lagos at any point? Or were you mainly?
I was in Lagos on the that would be like maybe the 9th. I was in Lagos.
Okay, on the 9th. Okay. So you just
yeah.
Okay, well, welcome back, and thank you for having me on. And all right, so I guess for me, when we say integrating West Africa with the rest of the African continent, I think one of the points you're even talking about is infrastructure. And I think even when you talk about infrastructure, if we move away from the capital cities,
right,
you know, the As, the Abidjans, the Lomes, Lagos, and so on, that is where really the infrastructure lacks big time. I think you can always find pockets of very, you know, even in Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso, you find, you know, they built a whole, Blaise Compaoré, before he left, built a whole new part of town called Ouaga 2000, Ouaga 2000, which is
it middle class, upper middle class area, I guess?
It's designed for that caliber of people, just like in Lagos and in Accra, you have the Legon region. In Lagos, you have the Lekki region, and you know, these coastal cities, these capitals were built for the purpose of the Westerners, you know, the white people. So they were built to be more infrastructure led, I guess, than the rest of the country. But I think West Africa in particular is almost like a separate entity to the rest of the African continent. I think West Africa shares its own unique history. I think, you know, East Africa, we know from even the enslavement period that it was more of an Arab enslavement more than anything, say a little bit with Southern Africa too. But when it comes to West Africa, and I'm talking really from Congo, west of Congo, all the way down, is a very unique place because this is where the bulk of our brothers and sisters in the States and in the Caribbean came from. So there is still a bit of a separation there. There's still a little bit of a separation there with the rest of the continent, in part also because of the way the colonial system works. So West Africa, we know, is largely French speaking. In fact, even that, I don't even like saying French speaking. It's largely French. It was largely French controlled. So one of the things that you mentioned was the franc CFA, the currency, which is a bankrolled by France. You also had a period where France was heads of state were actually paying taxes, like in the case of Ivory Coast, where you were. They were actually paying taxes to the French government for keeping the presidential palace and things like that. So there is still a little bit of shucking and jiving in West Africa. And not to say it doesn't exist in East Africa or Southern.
It's all over Africa. We can't just, you know.
But there is a separation, I think, with the four, you call them geopolitical regions of Africa. You have West Africa, which is you know, very much still trying to mirror the colonial system. You have Northern, which is still obsessed with their Arab and Muslim allegiances. Partly East Africa too, and then you have East Africa, which is still battling between the white settler colony people as well as the Indians and the Lebanese and the rest of the people that come and have been involved in that country for a long time. And then Southern Africa, we know Southern Africa, they're battling with their white people. So I think all of Africa needs to really integrate, but West Africa in particular is key primarily because of the lack of interference. If you look all across Africa, with the exception of a few pockets in Central Africa, West Africa is largely untouched. It's largely still a black African subcontinent. You know,
this is where I somewhat disagree. And there's an echo, but it's okay. Nigeria, Ivory Coast, not as much as Senegal, had a very strong Lebanese presence, almost to the point, almost similar to, I would say, Tanzania with Indians.
Oh, no. Same levels of population in comparison to the black population? No.
Okay. Not to the as a black population, but there was definitely a heavy, especially in Ivory Coast. There was definitely, shout out to Information Man Show. There was definitely a heavy Lebanese presence.
I mean, you even in Nigeria up until a certain point, and even listen, there are Europeans and foreigners across Africa, but in the settler colonies of Southern Africa, Kenya, those type of places, they have more of a they seem to think that they have a right to call themselves Africans. It's very rare that you see white people calling themselves West African, Beninese, Togolese, Nigerian, from Chad. It's very rare to find them. Yes, you'll find people that are there doing their business. I'm referring mostly to population.
Okay.
The actual population of the countries. It's still largely black populations.
True.
And
okay.
5%. Whereas the other places are somewhat concerned with pleasing their own respective white people, but that one we'll get to another time. So I think I don't know if you're aware, Paul Kagame, who's chair of the African Union, president of Rwanda as well, recently signed this. Recently got 54 African nations to sign this pact about commerce across West Africa. Sorry, commerce across the African continent. So it means now that there's going to be free movement of people as well as free movement of goods, which means that business will be allowed to be done across Africa. We know, the red tape to do with traveling. Nigerians, for example, need visas to go pretty much everywhere in Africa except for Rwanda. To travel across your own continent costs more money than to go to Europe. It's easier for you to go to Europe, transit, and then come back into your own continent. Fine. So these are things that hopefully will be eradicated as these people move into this thing. And also another important bit is we've just started in Africa paying for our own African Union. I don't know if you know, but up until about 2 years ago, in fact, last year actually, the African Union was 75% funded by the European Union.
It makes sense now. It all adds up now. Go ahead.
You see logos all across the continent to prove it. But it's now, I think, through the use of taxes at the airports. Now it's been largely funded by the African Union. So again, but I think integration is something which there is a move towards what they call Pan-Africanism, and that Pan-Africanism we need to unpack as well, because you see, when we focus on Pan-Africanism, we always assume that we're talking about all of black people, but on the African continent, they talk about this Pan-Africanism, which has to do with regionalism. So which means
exactly.
As long as I'm on the African continent, whether I'm an Arab slaver or a white Afrikaner, I am an African, and that's where we need to start moving away from that.
My bad, bro. Let me turn. Phone is just going crazy. Let me turn this down. Okay. No problem. Go ahead. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No. So we're moving towards integration, and you could see it. I used my Nigerian passport to fly from Nigeria to Ghana. Nobody hassled me.
Okay. See. Let me ask you this. So, did you have any issues? Because I'm not even Nigerian, but I look Nigerian. But I have issues. I get issues at the Nigerian airport from security thinking I'm a Nigerian dope dealer.
Yeah. But that's. I mean, I didn't get any problems leaving Nigeria at all. Usually I do. But I mean, I think.
But I definitely got the. Here we go. Big man, small.
Yeah. What do you have for me?
Small. Big man, small. You have something for me? You have something for me? Big man, small.
Thank God they're not so aggressive. anymore. You know, they used to be very
bro. Like, okay, so the first time I went in August, it wasn't that bad. This last time, I'm talking about, listen. When I first landed, passport control. Big man, small, something for me. Big man, what do you have for me? Big man. I leave passport control.
Yeah.
I go to, basically heading out the airport, get my bags, heading out. Here come the police, 2 females. Big man, my brother. You have something? You have gift for me? Gift for me? I'm like, God damn, no. So then I walk out. So coming back to fly from Nigeria to Ivory Coast, fucking the check-in, big man, passport control, big man, fucking at the gate to get on the plane, big man. I'm like, God damn.
God, man, my God. But let me ask you though, when you were going through security, or rather when you were checking in and everything, the people at the counters, they didn't do that to you, hopefully, right?
At security, hold on.
So when you're checking in,
okay, passport control at the counter, at the checking my bags. Yes.
Really?
I'm talking about, I don't know what it was. The first time I went, it only happened when I arrived, it didn't happen, but when I was leaving, it happened at passport control. This last time, when I was leaving Nigeria to go back to Ivory Coast, it happened at checking in my bags. It happened at passport control. Some random security guy, and then it happened right when I was about to get on the plane. And and it's just like, look, man, like I'm trying to bring people over here. They're not trying to hear this shit. And you know what I tell them?
What?
I say, ask that white person right behind me, and then they shut up.
Yeah. I apologize, man. What can we do, man?
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then I have all my tattoos and I have all like my traditional outfits, so they thought I was selling dope.
Ah, okay. Did they check your back? Did they ask you?
Yeah, I have my coffee tan on, and it was like because they think I'm Nigerian, so I open my mouth. In fact, even after then, they think I'm Nigerian. Period. They think I'm just traveling from overseas. I'm Nigerian. They're like, "Where's your Nigerian passport?" I'm like, "I don't have a Nigerian passport. I have an American passport." No, show me your Nigerian passport. I'm like, I don't have a Nigerian passport. So yeah, so that's why my question was to you. You traveling with a Nigerian passport? How is it for you traveling around Africa?
Hey, my brother, listen. I mean this from the bottom of my heart.
I think he said, T. Kelly said, ask bottom shelf Brad. Absolutely. I said, I swear to God, when I was at passport control and they asked me, I said, you ask those white folks right there. You ask them. And they didn't say, they just kept quiet. But go ahead.
Of course they will. But let me just say to you, traveling with a Nigerian passport, look, unfortunately, it's a very degrading passport to travel around Africa with.
Wow.
It's one of the most degrading. Even the West African region, ECOWAS, and the CEDEAO that they call it in the French-speaking places, I get detained everywhere. I told you last time about my story when I went to Benin by air.
No, you didn't tell me. I think you did, but go ahead, share it again.
I mean, me and the white woman, remember the white woman from Canada?
Oh, yeah, you told me, yeah.
Also, when I went to Mali. But when I went to Mali, everybody's there showing their West African passports, Malian passports. I show mine, and the minute I show mine, they detain me, and I start asking questions. I have to bring out all the letters and everything showing that I'm allowed to come into the country because of the association that they have with Nigerian people.
Hold on, what do you mean letters showing? If you have a Nigerian passport, I thought that was automatically you could.
They don't care, man. They don't care. But if I didn't bring out these letters, they would have still let me go at some point. But I brought out these letters, so it made them realize that I'm not coming there, just to mess about. Because there's an association with Nigerians. I mean, you look at the association with Nigerians in South Africa, in Kenya, all of these different places that they come and mess up the system for other people. This is the perceived point of view of Nigerians. But so with me in particular, everywhere I go in West Africa, not just West Africa, but across the continent, I get similar sort of treatment. I'm treated, I'm pulled aside. It's a very difficult passport to travel with. In fact, we talked about the presidential aspirant, Ọnuọra. He even talked about changing the color completely of the passport just so we could have a fresh start if he gets elected. So, you know, it's not an easy passport to travel with, my brother. I don't care whether you're ECOWAS or not. It's easier to come into the UK with your passport than travel across your own continent. But that said, though, let me just say this to you as well. Going by road across West Africa with a Nigerian passport or any part, if you're from Ghana or Nigeria, any of the English-speaking places, and you're going into the French-speaking places, so I'll give you an example. So 2017, I was crossing the border, Benin and Togo. First of all, crossing Nigeria to go into Benin, you know when I tell you that I couldn't even cross the border. I had to pay, there's a guy I pay 1,000 naira, he'll drive me around and into Benin. Now, when I get into Benin, I've gone in through the back door, technically speaking. So by the time I get to the border with Togo, they're like, "Where is your stamp?" I have no stamp showing that I came through both places, and I'm not necessarily supposed to get a stamp because it's free movement of people. And you see all the Beninese, Togolese crossing the border, no problem. You see the Senegalese, all these people from the so-called French-speaking countries passing, no problem. Me, I go pay 2,500 CFA, which is like 10, 15, I think 20, something like that, to pass every single border. And sometimes even when I have the stamp, they make me pay anyway. So there's an association. This is why I say to you that the French system, the so-called French-speaking system, the Francophone countries, are still living under the same colonial style of thinking. Everybody's mentality is still based on, we're French-speaking, so we're different to the rest of the people. Whereas in reality, what is stopping somebody from the eastern region of Ghana, who is Akan speaking, who probably has brothers and cousins in Ivory Coast, on the Ivory Coast side, Akan speaking Ivory Coast side, what is stopping him from crossing the border? It's the passport. The passport will tell him, no, you're from Ghana, not Ivory Coast, and therefore there's a difference, even though they're the same people.
Right.
So this is why integration is so important right now. West Africa needs to associate itself with the rest of Africa, and vice versa.
And there was a question I wanted to ask you in regards to, oh man, it was something that is in West Africa, presently in West Africa, but not East Africa. It's not ECOWAS. It'll come back to me, but I completely forgot.
SADC, the Southern African one, that is EAC. EAC, by the way, they're very good. Rwanda, Kenya, those countries, they have very good free move. In fact, you don't even need your passport; you just need a national ID. Uganda.
Well, that's how it is with the ECOWAS too, just national ID, right?
No, well, no, not if you're from English speaking Nigeria or Ghana. What they call English speaking, you need your passport. Benin, my cameraman, for example, going from Benin to Togo, because they're part of what they call the CDAO. That's how the French countries associate. The CDAO is Community of Development of African something. Anyway, but it's something that they call, it's basically another phrase for ECOWAS. But the French-speaking places have an understanding with each other. If you have the ID card, you can pass. But me, if I go with a Nigerian driving license, they won't let me through. But if I go with my passport, they will. But I still will have the rigmarole of having to do, possibly pay somebody, get hassled, that type of thing. That's how it is with Nigerians and Ghana and Ghanaians when they pass through those countries. It's the same issue.
Guys, let's hit that like button. We have 205 people watching, only 61 likes. Let's hit that like button. And guys, sorry for not streaming while I was in Africa. It's just usually where I'm at, the Wi-Fi is not the best, so I will be breaking up and falling off. So, I apologize about that. But let's see what all we have in the chat room. Now, here we go. This is my question. I know the recent comments made by the president of Ghana in regards to re-engaging the diaspora as far as for Black Americans, citizens of slaves, no visas to travel back and forth and making it easier to get citizenship. Do you think that's something that's really going to happen?
I think Nana Akufo-Addo's government is probably, at least in principle, they seem to carry out what they say they're going to carry out. And I think, but this started way before him. He was just following something that had been put in place. I don't know how many decades ago.
Yeah, but you don't understand the red tape behind that right of abode.
The bureaucracy is the bureaucracy, no doubt. I'm not knocking it, but what I'll say is I was going to say something. What I'll say also is yes, to do with John Dramani Mahama, the previous president. Now, Dramani Mahama, previous president, 2016. I'm sure you're aware there were about 35 to 40 African Americans and people of enslaved descent who were given Ghanaian passports. I don't know if you were aware of that. So he gave that in December 2016. They were awarded, but they lobbied for it for about a year. They lobbied for a year and eventually got it.
Right.
So this thing with Nana Akufo-Addo is not something which is, revolutionary. This is something which it's been in place. It's just that the bureaucracy has prevented people from doing it. Nigeria, I think under Babangida 30 years ago, they were talking about doing the same thing. But the difference with Nigeria and Ghana, obviously, is like chalk and cheese.
Oh yeah.
Nigeria, the bureaucracy there. I mean, you just try and ship a dead body back to, a loved one who passes away in the West. Try and ship them back to Nigeria, and you'll see how complicated it is just getting paperwork. So, I mean, yes, the bureaucracy is going to be there, but I think Nana Akufo-Addo's government seems a little bit more serious about these type of things. He's not going to make a public statement if he's not going to implement it. But let me just say, though, again, for you to go to Nigeria, I'm sure you got your visa. How long was your visa? 90 days?
No, visa for 2 years, but the process and nothing against Nigeria. I love Nigeria. But I would think Nigeria will want to encourage people to travel there for tourism revenue. The visa process was probably the hardest and most strict out of any visa process I went through. They wanted bank statements, invitation letter. They wanted a whole lot, just to get a visa to Nigeria. And it's like,
and for Ghana,
Ghana, it was just you just pay the money and that's it.
So Ghana's always been a little bit more relaxed than Nigeria.
Yeah, but again, but thing is, I think Ghana. See, I was shocked as a Black American. I even had to pay for a visa. I was shocked. I was thinking it's Ghana because Senegal, as long as you have a U.S. passport, you're good.
Yeah. These are many of the issues that we have that we need to resolve. I mean, with just the whole passport, you guys having to get visas. I mean, look, the reality is, somebody from East Africa, if they wanted to come to West Africa. So my mother, for example, I told you my mom's got a Rwandan and Ugandan passport. To come to Nigeria, she lives in Nigeria, so she has a right to a board. But she goes to Ghana, she has to get a visa. This is a problem continental-wise. Same thing, like I said, with Haitians. Why are Haitians not even the African Union? African Union should include Haitians. Pan-African Congress of 1900 has made that clear. But they allow Morocco and all these racist countries to be Union, but
don't even identify as Africans, right?
Exactly. So the Caribbean Federation, why isn't the Caribbean giving free visas for people in Africa and African? I think African Americans, you guys can go to the Caribbean visa free, but us Africans, you have a passport, you can't just go to Jamaica, you can't just roll up to Jamaica visa free. They won't even allow you on the plane. So as a people, we really need to come together and stop looking at this regionalism that these Europeans have made us. That's taking us off the ball, actually, because if we focused on Garveyism and we focused on Pan-African Congress of 100 years ago, if we focused on those tenets, I think we would have moved forward a long time ago. And Kwame Nkrumah and all these guys in their Monrovia group and all these different sects of the African Union and the direction they wanted it to go. These are all the people that have just played into the complicated mess that we're in now. So, we got a long way to go, my brother. Long way when it comes to respecting each other, because this is an issue about respect.
Let's see here. Shout out to Bell Thanos for the super chat. Do you think other African countries will follow suit to what Ghana's doing? I hope so.
I think well, it depends what you mean. What exactly do you mean?
In regards to engaging the diaspora, because my theory is whoever engages the diaspora really engages it, that African country wins.
Yep. I mean, you have to understand there's a lot of austerity going on around the continent, not just in the continent, even in Europe. there's a lot of like xenophobia, people despise it, people made to believe that foreigners are taking all their jobs, that they have no jobs. This is still going on in many places. So as far as engaging the diaspora, you have to get the GDP up. To be honest with you, you have to get people to a point where they see integration as a positive thing. You know, look at a place like Kenya, for example. Now, right? Kenya is, been battling with inequality to an extent since Jomo Kenyatta's time, and they've really not really they've just surpassed Rwanda, South Africa in that sense, because South Africa, you look at what's going on in South Africa, and those are two of the most desired, you could say, black-run countries on the continent, simply because the infrastructure, even though it was built by black hands, it was built on the command of white people. So that's why these places are still desired. It's not until you build up a place like Ivory Coast or Ghana or Togo or Benin or Senegal, it's not until you build these places to that same standard that people would start to look at integration, or even the migration of people from different parts of Africa and the diaspora as a positive thing. So at the moment, you're always going to battle with this type of issue. Ghana is very, very, there's a spirit about Ghana. I don't know what it is. They seem to be thinking on a different.
Yeah, it's just, I'm trying to figure out why Ghana, and nothing against Ghana, I'm just trying to figure out why Ghana became like the I guess the hub or whatnot.
Well, I mean, that no doubt comes from 1957. Remember, Nkrumah studied in the States, so he came up under the Garvey system. You know about the flag and the star, but not just him though. A lot of leaders from that period came under, followed this Garvey system. Look at Biafra, Igbo people. When Ojukwu, who was the leader of the Biafran state in 1967, look at the flag that he took. He also took the Garvey flag, right? The UNIA flag. So a lot of people from that generation thought like that. What's happened in the interim? Obviously, European investment has come in. People's pockets have started to get fatter, and so they look to their slave master again because he pays them, But there's something about Ghana where, I guess, once Ghana had that, and this is spiritual. You can't just say this is just Ghana is special, or there's something spiritual about this place. You have to remember, the bulk of the so-called slave forts were in Ghana. So the majority of the people that live in the diaspora, who were raised in the diaspora, enslaved in the diaspora, either passed through Ghana or were from Ghana. This is just looking at basic odds. You either pass through Ghana, the likelihood is high, right? That you pass through Ghana or you're from Ghana. So I guess spiritually, there's something about that maybe that affects them. But without a shadow of a doubt, 1957 played a major part, because in 1957, nowhere else except maybe Guinea was talking about independence, and Ghana attained it. So there's that we maybe can point to as the reason why Ghana is forward thinking.
Let's see what else
and also, let me even just say,
go ahead.
Akufo-Addo and Dramani Mahama, the two previous presidents, their parents, their fathers, were involved in these first and second republics, if I'm not mistaken. So their parents were part of that same system of thinking, that Nkrumah-like system, which came from being in the United States and so on. So, remember, like John Henry Clark and all these people were invited back by Nkrumah to come and teach. I mean, the level is different to the rest of Africa, unfortunately. And that they've managed to maintain that over the decades, surprisingly, which is unique. And I think also to do with the kind of people that moved back, Rita Marley and people like that, the fact that they've been allowed to live in those countries without issue. These are important things,
Yeah, but a lot of people will say that it's just, again, how involved Black America has been on the continent, that it's not being reciprocated.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you that. I think even just like I said last time, just putting out a statement to the United States from the African Union, just saying, look, we condemn these acts of brutality towards our brothers and sisters in America, in Brazil, and all these places. They can't even put a statement out saying anything like that. So, again, we are, I think we all understand the mentality of these leaders. We know who they look to as God, and so therefore, you know, we shouldn't be surprised by their actions. But yeah, you have to reciprocate. Even if you read the book The Color Purple, you know, Color Purple, the real book, not the stupid movie made by Spielberg. The Color Purple, you see, forget the name of her sister. She went back and she was talking about, you know, African spirituality and how African people,
Alice Walker,
people that went out there, and Alice Walker's book, yeah. But the character is the name I'm forgetting. What's her name, sister?
Sissy
anyway.
was I don't know. I don't know.
Effie or something like that. So she was. This is in the late 19th century. These are African Americans going back to try and rebuild. Obviously doing it as missionaries, but trying to rebuild these African people who had been crippled after their people have been enslaved. So African American impact, and when I say impact as well, we cannot forget education. You see, when you even look at how much African American, and not just African Americans, but the African diaspora, you look at Cuban doctors that have come across Africa, Cuban soldiers that have died in Africa. Right. You look at the amount of support that the diaspora has given to the African continent. It's not really reciprocated at all. You would think that something as simple as a visa system.
Right, exactly. Just a visa, god damn.
But then something like that has to be done unilaterally from the African Union, because the African countries individually are too concerned with their own BS and their own slave masters that they don't spend time thinking about those type of things. African Union has to rule unilaterally, but the other issue is how many of these leaders will rather side with the African Union over their slave masters. So like the franc CFA, everyone knows this is a corrupt system. It makes no sense, but these countries are still continuing to use this currency. Everybody knows that the Commonwealth of Great Britain, all the nations that exist in the Commonwealth of Great Britain, they don't even give them visas free to come to, like, as a Nigerian part of the Commonwealth. You can't even go to England for free.
Hold on. Nigeria is still part of the Commonwealth?
Nigeria is still part of the Commonwealth.
That just turned me off. Oh man, are you serious? Oh, is Ghana still part of the Commonwealth?
Gambia, Sierra Leone, all of these, Kenya, all of them, they're still part. Gambia left. And then this new president that came, who had worked as a security guard in London for 10 years, when he became president, he decided, let's go back into the Commonwealth. But the Commonwealth doesn't benefit you. You can't even get a visa free to go there. So our mentality, my brother, is the issue. We're still, all these things, if me and you were head of state, it's different. But the problem is the wrong people. I think Wole Soyinka, great Nobel laureate from Nigeria, said, that the people with the power have no good ideas, but the people with good ideas have no power. So that's just how it is.
True. Shout out to Gregory Wyatt. Swahili should become the continental language consistent for all Black Africans across the continent. We'll get to that too, as far as one, I guess, language maybe. Who else is in here? Somebody else, just Little Sharon. Thank you so much. Shout out to Doug. Ghanaians do not need a visa to go to or to live in Zimbabwe. You brought that up as far as Sally Mugabe. There's somebody else, Brian Gibson. Although I disagree with you sometimes, I enjoy your content. I hope you visit Northern Nigeria in your next trip. In fact, there's tickets round trip that I found to Abụah from DC for $611. So I'm thinking about comping one. I don't know yet. So,
well, my sister is in Abuja. I was in Abuja as well for like a day recently when I went. So yeah, let me know, man. I'll put you in touch with some people.
Yeah. So,
but what you want to do? Abuja is only good if you can, like. I mean, it's a government. It's the state. It's the nation's capital. It's really dead, to be honest with you.
I mean, what's there? What's to do there? Like in Abuja?
It's dead. Maybe if it's good to go to like Kano and Kaduna or Sokoto, these older cities, the ancient cities. You know, if you look, the Sokoto Caliphate is very famous for what they did in history. Places like that, go and visit. You know, those are the places where you can go there from Abuja. In fact, there's a train now that they just built, a light railway train. It takes you from the airport to Kaduna. Kaduna is in the north. So it might be worth checking that out. But just obviously know people there because of the, whatever, what they call Boko Haram. I don't really believe it.
The Fulani herdsmen, the ever elusive Fulani herdsmen.
I don't really believe too much of that, but anyway.
Let's see here. Did the Igbo have any city-states?
Oh, good question. The Igbo, okay. So do the Igbo have any city-states? So historically,
city-states, that's fair. City-states, yeah.
The Igbo people, one of the reasons why they were so hard to defeat, I think they were only defeated by the British in the early 20th century. So I think like 1905. So it took a while to defeat them because they didn't have one centralized king. If you go to Oyo, like where you went to, you have the Alafin. If you go to, you have the Ile of Ife. If you go to Benin, you have the Oba. If you go to the north, you have the Emir of Kaduna. You have the Emir of Sokoto. You have centralized kings. With the Igbos, it was a scattered group of different peoples who have different dialects of the same language, right? And it wasn't until they sort of united to fight together. They had a capital at a place called Arochukwu in Abia State. Abia State is one of the many Igbo states that exist next to Anambra State. So that was where they had some type of centralized kingdom, if you will, but it was more made up. There was no real city-state that was, favorable. It was just a scattered group of towns more than anything. Very interesting culture. Not a lot has been done about it, and I think it's worth researching a bit more. But no, they didn't have the same as other people.
Let's see what else we got here in the chat room. Oh, what about the language? As far as integrating West Africa, because you have francophone. Because see, there.
No. Let me stop.
Portuguese, Russian, maybe one Portuguese speaking. Mozambique, right?
You in West Africa, Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. You mean?
No, but I'm saying East Africa. There's no French-speaking countries.
No, East Africa, there's no French-speaking. Let me just think. No, there's no French.
You just said Portuguese, Mozambique.
You have Portuguese, you have the English, and then you have Portuguese, English. Oh no, you have French. You have Congo, the two Congos, but that's more.
Okay,
central,
yeah, Congo.
Central more than anything. And then in the north, you have, a little bit of Italian in Eritrea. You have. Morocco is more north. You have Chad and Niger. These are still West Africa, but going towards the center. So yeah, I mean, they for me, the language issue I take very seriously. You see, because I think the continent of Africa having one centralized language, I think is a misnomer. It's something that you shouldn't even be discussing. Why? Because of the different Bantu dialects of languages. They're very different. So even in West Africa, for example, if you hear Igbo people speaking next to Yoruba people have the Igbo languages, right? These are the languages that are similar. Very. You hear the letters GB a lot, and that's similar with the Fongbe people of Benin. That's similar with the Ewegbe people of Togo and Ghana. And then when you move away to the Akan, it's a different dialect completely, sounds different. And the different Akan languages like Tree and the rest of them sound different. When you go north with the Bambara, different. So having a centralized language like Swahili is I think that makes no sense whatsoever, because that's so far away from what everybody else understands. Right. But as far as the languages, this focus on English, this is why I always do speech marks when I say Francophone and Anglophone. Because these languages are not, if you ask people to speak and write in this language, maybe the populations that live in the city who've been to school will be able to do it. But when you go to the rural parts of
it's just the indigenous language, right?
Which is why Akufo-Addo, the president of Ghana, annoyed me recently, because he said that we're going to make French a compulsory language at a certain level of school, which is idiotic. Because who does it go to benefit? It goes to benefit French companies that operate in Africa. It goes to benefit French embassy workers and things like that. We have to start thinking about how are we going to benefit the African people. We need to start doing, even in the different countries, take a country like Nigeria with 200 different dialects. If we start saying, okay, you must learn this other language from this other region, as your compulsory language, as opposed to French or something like that.
Right.
And I think in Ghana, Ghana is different because Tree is a language which is, for the most part, spoken by a lot of people.
Yeah.
But in other countries, it's not as favorable, you know? So even when you adopt a second language in a place like Ghana, it needs to be something that benefits Africa. Swahili is an important language because you got something like 100 million people that speak Swahili in Africa. But then you have another 100 million that speak Yoruba. You have maybe 100 million people that speak Hausa. You know, so these are things which, if we say, okay, these are the important languages, then you're isolating many other groups, you know? But definitely it shouldn't be English, French, Portuguese. None of these should be languages that we make compulsory in Africa at all. Mm-hmm. At all.
Now, me and you were talking offline as far as I love Nigeria. I could be romanticizing it a little bit.
So do I. I love it too. Yeah.
But you were saying Ghana.
For me personally, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
but a lot of people say Ghana.
Again, you gotta look at people's backgrounds, right? I'm sure the bulk of the people that tend to say Ghana are people who live in the diaspora of the diasporan population. Nigeria is I'm a Nigerian person. My family lives in Nigeria, but I've been fortunate to live in many other African countries. So I see that Nigeria is not all it's cracked up to be. It's not all it's hyped up to be. Why I say Ghana is when you look at the size of Nigeria and Ghana, I think Ghana is like a third of the size, but has like maybe a tenth of the population. So you already have this overcrowding thing that you won't have to deal with in Ghana, for me. Secondly, because of that small population, smaller population, you have a people who are not as, you know, the crabs in the barrel mentality doesn't exist as much as you have in Nigeria. You see, Nigeria
I could definitely attest to that.
Nigeria is all about how you package yourself. You know what they call packaging. You know, even if you don't have money, you strut like you do. You know, you don't have money, go rob someone. I'm not trying to paint a negative picture, but this is just the realities. There's so much of an aspiration to be wealthy and successful that people will do anything they can, and that's again a governmental problem that has to do with the poor government structures that have been in place since 1960. So that's separate. If Nigeria fixes its economy, that's probably the most desirable places in the world to go to. In the world, you look at what Nigerians have given the world.
Right. The diasporas, absolutely.
Directly and indirectly, look at the diaspora, the people who can't even identify themselves as Nigerian. Look at what they're doing in the world, you know, and then what the actual people on the ground are doing. So, you know, it's all about organization. Once we get organized and we sort ourselves out, then, you know, really the world is your oyster. You'll be able to pick and choose where you go.
Right.
You know.
Someone in the chat room. Let's see here. Okay, no problem. Shout out to Wody Maya in the chat room. So I love Nigeria, man. I don't know what it is. Even with the bribes and the bad roads and the traffic, I still love Nigeria. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. But I'm gonna tell you what the issue is too. And don't take this personal. I hear not everyone out of the diaspora, right? Nigerians are the most pessimistic when it comes to their country, and I think it turns a lot of people off.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that? I got into a girl told me the other day, Nigeria is a failed state.
Yeah. I mean, it's 50-50, I would say, you know. I think there's a whole group. Again, Nigeria is divided, man. You have a very wealthy elite whose children look at Nigeria as a playground, and then you have the people who work their backsides off to get out, who look at it differently. So I think it's 50-50. You'll definitely find a whole bunch of people that would say this place is terrible, and then a whole bunch of people. I'm not actually saying the place is terrible, mind you. I'm just saying for me and what I require, it's more a mentality thing, you know. The why I like Ghana personally is its proximity to Nigeria. The fact that and also the slower pace. You know, again, people are different. You know, I am half East African, I'm half Tutsi. So if you know anything about Tutsi people, these are people that keep to themselves. They're like the Maasai. They just keep to themselves. So my nature is more like that than the Nigerian, the gra-gra, as they say, mentality. I'm a little bit more laid back. So maybe that's what it is. I think your personality, Dynast. And by the way, Dynast, my wife was looking at you. She's like, this guy is Igbo, isn't he?
Everybody thinks that Igbo or Calabar.
Yeah. Okay, Calabar, because of the nose. You see your nose. My wife's family has that nose. This is called the Imi. They call it Imi horn, right? You have a nose that is like Igbo Calabar. So I think that's what makes you look. But by the way, somebody like you, just looking, I don't know you that well, but just looking at your personality, Nigeria will suit you more than Ghana.
Right. I think. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Nigeria suits me more.
And that's a character. These are character things. You know, this is to do with people's characters as well. It's just like if you went to somewhere like, I don't know, Uganda, you will flourish there too. You know, these are aggressive. You know, they're kind of, you know, they're loud. You know, but then when you cross the border, you go into Rwanda. You know, very subdued, very calm. You even listen to their cultural music. It's very smooth. You know, in Nigeria, it's all like Davido, Wizkid, you know, hyper. You know, that's the type of stuff that then that's your personality. For me, I have 3 children. I have a wife. I'm more chill. In fact, I don't even know how my wife will cook in Ghana. She's very Niger, you know, so we'll see.
Yeah, but Nigeria fits my personality more.
Yeah. And that's all it is.
Controlled chaos.
Exactly. I don't know about the controlled. It's just out of control. Out of control. It's crazy.
I'm a comer. I disagree. Kenyans are like New Yorkers. I disagree with that. No. I definitely disagree with that. I would say Nigerians are more like New Yorkers.
Nigeria, I think Lagos and Kampala in Uganda are like
I haven't been to Kampala, so I need to. But I'm so West Africa now. I'm just so like, I have no desire. I mean, nothing against East Africa. I mean, I do want to go to Sudan and I got to go back to Tanzania, but I absolutely love West Africa.
Good. I mean, but you know, again, important thing that you have to understand is our ancestors traversed the whole continent. So even when it's our ancestors, if you look at the DNA of, say, I think Ramses II, I think he's like 30% Southern Africa, 30% Eastern Africa, and the remaining is West Africa. So our ancestors traveled. I mean, my most recent documentary I show about the movement of the Yoruba people from the times of the Romans. Yoruba people moved and settled. So our people are all over the place and they constantly move. So the fact that you have an affinity to West Africa just shows that you are one of those people that you're like, I don't want any involvement with any Romans or Greeks. I want to move away to where my people are. So, you know, that's your personality. You know, Zanzibar, places like that, which aesthetically are beautiful.
Zanzibar is gorgeous. Absolutely.
Aesthetically and beautiful. I mean, for me, you know, I'm very much a black man. I love my black people, and I want my black people in positions of power. That's not really a place that I would like to live in, as beautiful as it is. So it's personalities, you know.
Now let's see what else we got here in the chat room. People say they want to go to Tanzania, and Dynast, you need to have a meeting with an African Union Commission. Do you think the African Union is going to play any type of impact on, I would say, just the continent in general? Because what are they doing?
But like I said, it all depends on who the chair is. At the moment, the chair is the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. And if you know anything about what Rwanda has done in the last 24 years, you'll be impressed. I mean, you know, more women elected to political positions or political office than anywhere in the world. You know, 99% literacy rate or something like that, 97% access to healthcare. I mean, they've transformed their country. So he's the chair of the African Union. He's been the one who's pushed for this pact, where 50 out of 54 nations have decided that they're going to fund the African Union and they're going to agree to movement of goods and services for free. This is progressive African leadership.
Right.
We're talking about But I think the African leadership we need is Black/African leadership. As soon as you include Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, even Sudan, not South Sudan, Sudan, and even Ethiopia to an extent. I mean, Ethiopia, you got to be very careful with those people. Once you include all those countries in your African conversation, then it shifts away from Black and focuses more on the regional Africa. So, you know, we will make strides. We will move forward. But the people who do the
real quick, man, and you're probably in a better position to address this. When you bring up Paul Kagame, is either you love him or he's a dictator and he works for the West and he's a dictator. Can you address? Are you in a position to address that at all?
Absolutely. My mother, I was having a conversation with my mom. She just came back from Rwanda a month ago. So straight up, I'll tell you this. Look, there are, we got to be careful. We got to be very, very careful with who we see as evil and who we see as good. And why do we see them as good? Why do we see them as evil? Paul Kagame, at the end of the day, helped stabilize a chaotic country where the currency was nowhere near good. The people hated each other. He abolished this I'm a Hutu Tutsi thing. He abolished it. But how did he do it, though? He developed the country and all these things, but how did he do it? He shut people up. My mom said, you cannot say anything in that country. You'll probably get arrested or beaten up. But on the flip side, they have an airline that functions, that travels all around the world. The people don't have to worry about healthcare, don't have to worry about going to school. There's infrastructure that's been built. Now, as a Nigerian, I'm sure you ask the 200 million Nigerians, would you rather that or what you have? They will probably say, look, give us Kagame all day. So again, it's the context. Now, in the West, they have this ability to paint whatever kind of picture they want.
True.
Now, Kagame, I think he's meddling. They say he meddles in Burundi, he meddles in Congo.
Exactly. They say that he's funding the rebels in Congo, and he's taking the resources and processing them or whatever in Rwanda or something like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, but again, look at Congo and let's compare Joseph Kabila, who lives in the wealthiest piece of land anywhere on the planet.
Right.
He's directly siphoning from it to give to America. Right. He's not even interested in his people. If Paul Kagame wants to meddle in his affairs, and I don't really know if he is or he isn't, you know, then it's okay to meddle in something like that, because we have to compare.
You know, I would rather see Paul Kagame going to Congo, take it over as a dictator than what's going on right now.
Exactly, and I think we all will. Yeah. I think we all, you know. Again, it's all context, man. It's just the context. You know, they say there's this quote that's been floating around. I think some BBC press person put it down, and now everybody uses it. That he's a benevolent dictator. I'm like, what the hell kind of benevolent dictator?
Yeah, what's a benevolent dictator? What is that?
What is a benevolent dictator? That's a misnomer. The two things contradict each other. He's not a benevolent dictator. I mean, he's when he came into power, and I'm not an apologist for Kagame, I'm just speaking facts. When he took over with the RPF in 1994, it took him 6 years before he became president. And that's because the guy who he put as president, a Hutu, by the way, got done by the ICC and he took over. Now, fine, he may have had a hand in that. But he didn't just jump into power and stay there like Museveni and all the rest of these dictators did after a coup. He stepped aside. He was a minister, then he became vice president, then he became president. Now, the people have gone to the polls repeatedly and given him, I think they've just said that he can run for a third election. And he ran and won. So this is his third term in office. I think political terms for presidents is like 7 years. So the reason why he's been there 18 years is because he's ran 3 times. Unlike, you know, again, Yoweri Museveni just across the border, who since 1986 took over and hasn't left. So look, let's see if he leaves in how many more years has he got? 3-4 years. If he leaves in 3-4 years, then will you call him a benevolent dictator? I don't know. You'll call him what? A guy who did his term and stepped down. But again, the West throws this propaganda and we buy into it so easily. Like, you know, there's nobody that's going to go to Rwanda from an outside country. And by the way, I think there are people that blog, YouTubers, American people, African-American people that go that live in Rwanda. They vlog about their experiences. They could just ask them, you know? Like, this isn't something which we need to look from afar. Go there. The fact that you can go there fairly easily. As a Nigerian person, I go there, I don't need a visa. There are very few places in the world that I can go to without needing a visa. I can go to Rwanda. I mean, if this guy is so bad, then why is he opening his doors for everybody to come and see? You know?
All right, so we have to deal with the gorilla in the room, or on the continent. That's China. So, what's your thoughts in regards to China, in regards to integrating West Africa with the rest of the African continent? Because it seems like they're doing business everywhere.
Yeah, but again, I think we talked about this the last time I was on. Look, I don't see China as a threat. I still see the USA, who, by the way, only this year went to Ghana and said we're going to put. They signed a treaty. I don't know if you're aware of this treaty, to put a military installation in just outside Accra. Now they've got one just off the coast of Nigeria. They've got one in is it Chad? I think. You look at all the military bases they put, and China's putting them too. Don't get me wrong. I think they've got one in Djibouti and other places. Look, I don't think China is as big a threat as the enslavers who are still on the ground. It's nowhere near as big a threat. And again, this is a deflecting tactic. Focus on these guys. Don't look at what we're doing, right? The reality is, if Shell, BP, all these corporations weren't in cahoots with their respective governments to try and milk Africa, then we wouldn't even be talking about China. China would just be seen as a trading partner, which is what they are. Now, China has its obligations to provide for itself. It doesn't really care about what we get out of the deal, as long as they get what they want. But the thing is, Africans are in a position where they can bargain with them. Well, with the Americans, you look at the IPs, with these deals that they sign for oil and copper, it's like 100-year deals, 100-year contracts. You see? Whereas China is more of an exchange. And of course, it may differ in different fields, but these people, some of the deals we have for like petroleum are the same deals that we've had for 100 years. That's why Nigeria can't still negotiate for America or Shell or any of these places, Chevron, to build a processing plant for the petroleum. You know, they're still having to sell it to them. They fix the price, and then when they process it into fuel, they come and buy it off them again, and they fix the price for that. Same thing with chocolate, right? I told you last time, I said Ivory Coast and Ghana have 60%.
Oh, you know, so I got good news. So Ivory Coast is starting to actually process their own chocolate.
Yeah, but Ghana also processes their own chocolate. The problem is, it's not about whether you're able to process your own stuff. The question is, can you even get a sniff of the market?
Okay, you have a point there, because
they subsidize when they do the deals with the people, they subsidize it so much. So like rice, for example, there's a great documentary that somebody did about rice and how rice is a commodity, that rice that we grow there isn't being used, but we ship rice from China and America, rice that is no good for us anyway, but we'll ship it in because it's so much cheaper than the domesticated one. And that's why agriculture investment is so key in West Africa, all of Africa really. You need to start bringing in the trucks so that we can mass produce stuff. That's why they don't invest. That's why they pay the governments not to invest. It's the EU that has a full control of African grown crops. Agriculture in Africa goes directly to the EU. They do also in South America with certain fruits. We literally create stuff for their benefit. And that's why our countries don't invest in agriculture, because they know that it will then benefit us, because then we can then dictate the prices. As long as, because what does Europe have, really?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing but a bunch of well-organized gangsters. That's really what mafia.
Yeah,
you pay them for protection money, and you don't even get protection.
Hold on 1 second. I would say go ahead and continue and talk, but just hold on 1 second.
Yeah. So this is it. So we need to really start thinking differently. We need to start associating ourselves as African people and ensuring that as African people, our primary focus is us, Black people. So, yeah. Dennis, give me 1 minute. I need to charge my computer as well.
Oh, go ahead. Your computer got to go dead?
Yeah, I just need to plug my computer. Give me 1 sec.
Master goes your grandma, Master.
This is cute.
Close the door.
Can you text him?
Huh?
Can you text him?
Text him. Hold on, everybody. Give me 1 second. You want me to call her or text her? You want to talk to her?
Dinus, have you met a good?
Who?
I saw a picture of you and some Igbo girl. What's the situation, my brother?
Oh, nothing. Just a friend.
That's what they all say. Listen, marry one from back home, man, and just move out there. Honestly. Anyway, yeah. So what's next?
I think we
okay.
I think we covered everything.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's see if we got any more questions in the chat room. Yeah, that's it. Okay, just the Kagame is a dictator. Outside of that, everything. That's about it.
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
Yeah, brother. So we'll go ahead and close out. Anything else you want to share in closing?
Yeah, please follow me on my YouTube channel. I've been lazy lately since I've been back. I'm gonna start posting a few more things. Ọnuọra, Abụah, Onuora, Abụah, Abuah, and also AEA Films, which is my other YouTube channel, which has it's my production company, has all my work there. Please, join the movement. I've got a documentary called Dahomey and Vodun, which is about the Vodun spiritual system and the Dahomey kingdom, which adopted it for 300, 400 years, and now actually. So, that's coming out now. I just released the trailer, so please, all of you, check it out. Thank you.
Do you know anything about Dangote, Aliko Dangote's oil refinery?
Yeah, so the government of Nigeria is paying him to build an oil refinery, which is bizarre. Which once it's built with government money, he will benefit from it. He will be the sole. And you just think about the impact of that, instead of having to ship, even Ghana that just discovered oil a few years ago, instead of them having to send ships to America to process the oil into petrol fuel, they can just send it to Dangote. So it's going to make him a stinking billionaire. I mean, he's already a billionaire by every standard.
Well, he's lost a lot of money in the past couple of years.
My brother, he's not lost money.
Huh?
My brother, he's not lost money. He may have lost money in the West when you had the crisis, but trust me, the money he makes on the ground. This man deals in commodities like rice, like gari, like the indigenous stuff, and that stuff. As long as they're pulling it out the ground, he'll keep making money. And then all his other investments. He's talking about buying Arsenal Football Club, and he will. You just give him time.
They won't sell it to him. They won't sell it to him.
Dude, this is what you think. Everybody will reach a point where, look, things will change. Things are changing already. I think Africa will come back with a force at some point. But people like
Dangote to the Eagles, the Super Eagles.
Say again?
He needs to invest that money that he wants to in the Arsenal into the Super Eagles.
Well, again, it shows you where his focus is, right? Super Eagles won tonight, by the way. So congratulations to them.
Yeah. So let's see. But he's worth 11 billion now. But I want to say a couple of years ago he was.
My brother, you really think that 11 billion is real? 11 billion? It's probably something like 500, my brother. That 11 is official. It has to be something that goes through international books that you can audit. The stuff in Nigeria you can't necessarily audit. It's probably worth 10 times that. You have to look at currency, right? In Naira currency, which is the currency of Nigeria, right? He's worth hundreds of billions, right?
Right.
But even with Naira currency, especially when you can manipulate banking systems in a country which isn't running and functioning properly.
Right.
Come on, man. This guy is worth way more than that. That's what I think when Forbes go in, again, in America, you can do this type of stuff. You can look at all the assets, Forbes can analyze. how is he gonna go to Nigeria? How many does he know how many houses this guy has in Nigeria? How many farms? Does he know how many proxy businesses the guy owns? You can never know. And this is why all these politicians, when they tell you that they're billionaires, don't believe them. They're probably trillionaires.
Right.
Don't believe them, man. Because the money, you can't follow money. Not in a place like that, man, unfortunately. That's why, look, if you want to make money, go and work with Nigerians in Nigeria. Go partner up with some minister. You'll be rich.
Rich forever.
That's it.
Rich forever. But yeah, that's it, brother. Shoot, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, my brother. Good to speak to you, man. Welcome back. Anyway, you got 11 days, so 11 days.
Yeah, 11 days I'll be in Senegal.
Then that fresh heat, man.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed. Ọnuọra, you got to come back on and we got to discuss your documentary.
For sure, no problem. I'll send you a link. You can check it out.
Oh, is it? I mean, is it on YouTube?
It's done. It's gonna be premiering. Well, officially in FESPACO is the big Pan-African Film Festival in Burkina Faso. So
we have one out here. Well, I don't know. We have a huge one in February or January in LA.
Oh yeah, that one's not. That one's not really the same type of. I think you tend to show a lot of American.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. You're right.
This is like all the films from West Africa, from Africa. Period. Go to Burkina Faso. It's a 50-year-old film festival. So, all the great African films have passed through there. So yeah. It's available. I'll send you a private link anyway.
Send me the link. I'll definitely. I'll watch it tonight. We send it tonight.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Again, thank you for joining us. Until next time, search for Huru, Dynasty Samir, Rela, Ọnuọra. Sorry about that. Till next time, family. Peace.
Okay.